So you'd like to give YNAB a go. You've clicked my link, you've got your 34-day free trial, and now you want to know how to set up your budget in the most effective way. I'm going to show you exactly how you can set up your YNAB budget from the beginning. I will give you these simple terms so that you can set it up and get started straight away, and then towards the end I'll give you some more advanced things that you can add if you're feeling comfortable and you want a more in-depth budget. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to go from my first video that if you're starting out with budgeting, definitely watch this one first. So this is my how to budget for beginners using a zero-based method. And then also I do say that YNAB is a really great tool to use if you're starting out and doing zero-based. So at the bottom of my video, if you go down to the description, you have got the YNAB referral link. So you click that and it takes you to this page. And that is where you can sign up and begin your budget. And if you sign up with this link, it will look like this. You'll have your 34 days free. You don't need to enter any credit card information. And then if you still love it after 34 days, you can sign up, get an extra free month. And then after 2 months of free, you'll start being charged for it. So I'm using my regular account to create an extra budget just to show you guys how to create one. If you want to see a real budget in action, I'll link my budget with me videos down below and you can have a look at that. But this is setting up your budget from the beginning. So the first thing it's going to ask you is your plan name. So I'm just going to put my first budget. And then you can choose your currency as well. So I'm in England, so I'm going to use UK pound. And then there's a few things that you can do as well, just to whatever preference you want. You can change where the currency symbol is. You can change your number format, your date format. So I'm again in the UK, so I would go to this format of day, then a month, then a year. And then you create your plan. So it will give you some examples of things that you can do. When I first did not use these. I just wanted to create my own. So that is what we're going to do. I'm going to delete these and then we're going to start from scratch. If you really aren't sure of what you want to use for your categories, you can go ahead and use this. They've got it set into bills, needs, and then wants, but it's up to you. I think the more personal you can get with it, the better. So now you're going to create your category groups. Now these are just kind of those groups that you would have lots of little categories underneath. So for some examples, I've got my essential costs. Then I've got my guilt-free spending. And this is going to be a very simple way to set this up. You can get more nuanced and specific as you go on, and there are plenty of budget with me videos from lots of creators using YNAB if you want some examples on how to make it more fun and more you. If you have a car, I find it quite useful to have a car category and have everything to do with that under there. I also like to have a savings category as well for those long-term goals. So now you've created your category groups, you can rearrange them like this as you see fit. And then you need to add in your specific categories. So for essential, you might have your, let's go for a mortgage and rent. Then you might have your bills. I have a separate category group for subscriptions, but that might feel a little bit intense all at the beginning. So maybe you put down subscriptions as one category and you can add those up. And again, you can kind of play around with how the order of that you would like. So then you would have your groceries. Toiletries, I have that as separate. And then sometimes I like to just have a miscellaneous, or I call it an odds and ends category, and that could be kind of your random spending that you're not quite sure where you'd like to put it. And And then for your car, maybe you've got petrol, or you might call it gas if you're in America. Your insurance. Maybe you've got breakdown cover. And then a car maintenance fund is good as well in case your car breaks down. Well, for when your car breaks down, because there will inevitably be repairs, so car maintenance fund there. And then maybe for guilt-free spending, this should be anything that you want to spend your money on that is fun. You should have fun with your money. I do my paycheck breakdown in the previous video, so make sure you've seen that one before you see this, and the way that I structure this will make a lot more sense. So some guilt-free spending, dining out, hobbies, dates, maybe you want your clothes category in there. You really can put anything that you want that you think you might spend out of, and things that make your life, you know, more enjoyable. And then I think it's important to have your savings goals as well. So I would think about all of the different types of emergencies that you might have that you might need to save for. So we already have our car maintenance fund, but maybe you need a house maintenance fund. Maybe you've got a car loan that you need to pay off each month. Maybe you're saving for a house deposit. And maybe as well you've got a holiday coming up, so you can put that one down too. Another thing that you should be thinking about is any sort of non-monthly expenses. So actually we could have a separate category group, and that could be your non-monthly expenses. So that could be, perhaps you've got annual fees, so a credit card annual fee. Maybe you've got your Christmas fund and you want to start saving up for that each month. For example, my water bill comes out every 6 months. So I think it's important to have your non-monthly expenses in there as well. That is what YNAB encourages you to do, so that you're prepared for anything that you can think of. So now that we've set up our category groups, it's a good idea to link your bank accounts. Now, you don't need to link all of your bank accounts straight away if that feels overwhelming. When I first started, I use Monzo, which is a UK banking app, and you can have a savings account, but then also you can have lots of different pots to organize your savings. Now, I brought that into here and it just was chaotic. You don't need to have lots of different savings accounts unless you've got some good reason for it, like perhaps you have an investment account or you've got just a regular savings account. I would suggest just having a checking account and a savings account, just to make everything super easy, because you can actually be specific with what you want that money to do in the budget. So you would go over to bank connections and you would click that, and then you would pick your bank institution and just follow the instructions that it has on the screen. But linking this automatically will be automatic import of transactions, and you won't have to put them in manually here. So once you've got these added in, if you go back to your plan, you will see that you've got this ready to assign. Every time that you have income coming into your budget, then you can assign this money out, and you want this to be at 0. So the easiest way that you can decide how to budget out your money is you can create targets. Now, for things like mortgage, rent, bills, you probably have a set amount that's going to come out each month. So let's say that for our mortgage or our rent, we need to pay £950. It doesn't really matter when it comes out as long as you're budgeting it. I like to do it on the 1st because I get paid once a month. So I'm going to be budgeting for that next month as soon as I get the paycheck. And then if you want to have a look at these targets here, they do different things. So set aside another means that you are going to consistently set aside the same amount every month. Whereas refill up to, if you had a bit of money left in that category from the previous month, it would roll over. So say that your bills are only ever going to be £200. If you've got £10 left in from the previous month, you would only need to put in 190 the next month. But say you have a car maintenance fund and you wanted to build that up, maybe you do a set aside another £50 each month, and that would consistently build up. So for the rent, I'm going to assume that it will be the same every month. So I'm just going to do refill up to, because I don't need to create a mini sinking fund. And you can choose for this target to be weekly, monthly, yearly, or you can have a custom one where you can set when it's due, but we'll have a look at that later. So I want monthly and I want it to refill up to. And now you can see that that is yellow, which means that you need to fund it. So if I wanted to fund that, I could either go over here and type in £950, or I could click on this yellow here and click assign. And now that is fully funded. So let's do the same thing for bills. We're going to create a target, and I'm going to say that that is about £200. And it needs to come out on the 1st. And I'm going to do again refill up to. And this time I will type it in here just so you can see. And that is now funded. Let's say that your water bill comes out every 6 months like mine. So I would go to a custom target. I would say that it is 200, let's go for, £100. And I want this to come out 6 months from now. So today is June 21st. So I will flip to July, August, September, October, November, and December on the 21st. And I want to have a balance of £100 because by the time the bill comes out, I need to have £100. So when I save that target, So make sure that you're clicking that due by date, and you can have a balance of £100. And then it's going to tell you you need £50 this month to stay on track and to have that amount of money by that date. So I will assign that. Now, if you want a little bit of less thinking as you budget out your money each month, you can set a target for any of these categories. You could do it for all of them. What I like to do actually is to know exactly which ones are going to be the same. So bills, usually essential costs. I like to have a category for a target for groceries. And for this, I actually go ahead and say, I do my food shop every Saturday and I want to spend about £90. So I would put in, I need 90 every Saturday. And so that is going to be setting aside that amount each week. Or you could do refill up to if you really don't want to spend any more than that. So I would save that target. And because we've only got a week left in June, it says I only need £90. But if I were to flip over to July, you see that there it's got these 4 lines now. You need £360 because it's calculating how many Saturdays you're going to have in that month and how much you're going to need. So flipping back over to June, I can go ahead and assign that one. But I think for things like guilt-free spending, have a think about what you've got coming up. Maybe you've got a birthday dinner, so you want to assign 100 in this month. Maybe you are going to buy some new paints because you really like painting, so you're going to put £40 in there. Maybe for dates, for example, my boyfriend and I, we set aside £50 every month for dates. So maybe you create a monthly target for dates. And you want to let that build up. So I can assign that one. For subscriptions, you can either create a category group and list out each of your subscriptions, or you can count them all up and you could create a note. So for example, maybe I've got Netflix and that is £9 a month. Then maybe I've got my phone bill and that is £30 a month. And you could count them all up and then create yourself a target there. and go ahead and assign that. So car maintenance fund. As you can see over here, I've got this savings account, £1,500. I really urge you to actually divvy that money out as if you had it all in one account. So for savings, I have £1,500. So I'm just going to go ahead and say that for my holiday, I have 250. For my house deposit, I have already saved up 300. For my car loan, I need to pay back 100 each month. And then maybe for a house maintenance fund, I've got 500. So as you can see there, we're at 1,150. And maybe I really want to save up for a new computer. So I can go ahead and put that in there. And I could put 350. And now all of my savings account is accounted for. But just because you have it in savings doesn't mean that it has to go to savings goals. I would just recommend that whatever cash you have that's easy access, you put it in there and you give it specific jobs. So that is the point of YNAB, is that you get rid of all of that ready to assign money and it all has a job, and that you can go in and you can change it whenever you want to. So now you've got that zero ready to assign. You don't have any more money to assign. Just to go over these focused views, so underfunded, that would mean if you had a target, say you had a target on here and you needed £10. If you went over to underfunded, it would show you everything that needs money, that you've got a target on there and it needs money. If you've got overfunded, if you had something that you'd put more money in than the target, it would go here. Money available, these are all the categories that have money in them. And then the snoozed one, you can always snooze a target. So if it's flashing yellow at you and you don't want to put any more money in there that month, then you can go ahead and snooze it. And then you wouldn't need to worry about it. It wouldn't show you that target, and it will unsnooze on the next month so you don't forget to fill it up. So this reflect tab is just going to give you your different sorts of, if you start spending from here, it will tell you your spending from different categories and groups. If you want to know more about this reflect tab, go and watch one of my monthly review videos where I explain my spending and I kind of go over what my expenses were for the month, and you can see it in there. So when you go over to this all accounts button, this is going to show you all the transactions that you've had from any of your linked bank accounts. So just for the sake of showing you how it works, I'm going to add in one manually. So say, for example, you went to the supermarket and you spent money on your groceries. You can go ahead and put in here, maybe it's your weekly food shop. And you spent £50. So you would save that, clear it. If it's cleared from your bank account, you know it's going to be that amount of money. You can press clear. And then if you go over to here, you can have a look and see that your groceries, you've now spent £50 of your £90 that you've budgeted. The idea is that you start simple. You just get your budget set up. You get all of your bank accounts that you spend money from. You get them linked up in here and you divvy that money out, whether it's a target or you just do it by feel. You can do whatever you want with this budget and you can move the money around as well. So say that I needed to cover that credit card annual fee and I haven't budgeted any money. I could take some money from here and I could move it to my credit card annual fee, and then the money moves. And you can do that, and I encourage you to do that throughout the month. And also, as soon as you get a paycheck, I would urge you to go into your budget and divvy that money out. Don't have it just sitting there. There are some other buttons that you can make use of. So if you go over here, you could have your assigned last month. That's how much money that you assigned to it in the previous month, how much you spent last month, the average that you've been assigning over the past few months, and then the average you've been spending over the last few months. And these are really good if you have had a target on it and you keep overspending or underspending. It takes what you've actually been spending and uses that as a target and funds it that way. But these buttons, you can play around with them. Once you're used to using the budget, you can play around with all of those things, but it's not necessary to use straight at the beginning. Another thing that's fun that you can do to personalize it is you can go in and you can add emojis. So You know, I add emojis to all of my different things, but you know, you can add little emojis, and I just find that it kind of personalizes it. You don't have to, again, you just play around with it and have fun with it. The more personalized your budget feels, the more likely you are to use it and actually enjoy using it. Just to recap what you need to do step by step: use my link to get 2 free months. Then you need to sign up for YNAB, create your category groups and your categories, link your bank accounts so you know how much money you're working with, create targets for those categories that you know are going to be the same amount of money or you want to set a certain amount of money aside for, and then divvy out your money and check your transactions once every few days, once a week, every day, whatever works for you. There is a mobile app that you can use just so that you can check your budget on the go, but I do quite like the desktop, especially when I'm setting up my budget and also when I'm kind of divvying money out. I will link any other helpful YNAB videos in the description that I've already filmed, and especially go and check out my budget with me videos, which shows you in real time using my real money, my real bank accounts, and my actual categories and category groups, and you can see what I do and how I use the budget. Let me know in the comments if you're already using YNAB or if you're going to give it a go, and let me know how you get on. Also, any other questions that you have about it, put them down below. I will reply pretty quickly, just so that you guys feel happy and you feel good about it, and it's really exciting. I wish that I could start my YNAB journey again because it was so exciting setting up my budget. But yes, that is all from me, and happy YNABing.